section, which is what does 2017-18 look like? A look ahead. When I was trying to organize my thoughts for this section, it is just so much. We have 30,000 students, over 30,000. The most recent report from Institutional Effectiveness had us at 31,000 students. So I'm going to try to hit the highlights, okay, and try to see your work in these highlights. I want to start off with, we have never been larger in terms of our student population. So here are the numbers, okay? In 2013-14, we grew 4.7%. No, I'll do FTES, okay, which is the last two rows, 5.4%. And then we grew again 6.1%. And then again 7.4%. And then again 6.1, okay? So it's growing on top of growing, So you can imagine going into the fall semester. The growth is, where are we with the growth? About 6.5%? Yeah, we're about 6.5. So can you imagine Monday, the 21st? It's going to be crazy. So a call out to faculty. If you have your Canvas set up or you're communicating with students, please start communicating to students that there's not going to be parking. They should not bring their cars. They should ask someone to drop them off. They need to come early, or they need to take public transportation. So if you can start sending and messaging, I know our marketing and public relations department is doing a huge social media campaign to get that message across. Chef Eric Sabela is going to have food trucks all over, so we're trying to mitigate the lines in the cafeteria. So in your classrooms, tell the students, don't wait for 11:30 to go to the cafeteria. Make sure you pick up food, because if you go there, you're not going to be able to get through. I know that Chief Counts is planning to take care of all the cars and managing all of that, so the entire college is gearing up for that. And in that context, we are expanding our footprint in the Southwest, and Regina was tutoring me and said, don't call it Fresno Pacific University. It's Bakersfield Southwest, FPU, kind of a thing, right? So I know that, Rich, we have over 700 students, right? I think I saw an email from Chief Counts saying that we need to plan for, Kaufman says, I need 3 public safety officers at FPU, and I'm like, where's the money going to come from? And he's like, I need the money because we have safety. So we're trying to figure out the resources for that. So that's going to help us a little bit with the cramping of space here on the Panorama campus. And I want to really thank all the faculty, all the department chairs who have worked with Rich and Nan to make Bakersfield College Southwest a reality. So thank you for that. And down the line, many of you have been asking me, are we going to have a center? I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is we're meeting a need, and we're meeting a need by leasing the space at this point in time. So if you have not signed up before this fall term for a class at BC Southwest, contact your department chair. We can try to figure out for the spring semester, because I think we are in sort of expansion mode to deal with the growth that we are seeing. I want to take a moment to talk about our rural initiatives. Delano is still our big presence in our rural communities. Measure J is going to have an impact. So those of you in Delano, please know that that is a priority. We are going to have the LRC, but we now have the Randolph campus as well. So our facilities gang who does, Don keeps telling me now we've got all this space in the Randolph campus and the state does all these ratios. It's like, now we're not going to be able to compete for Proposition 51. Remember Prop 51 passed? So if we kind of screw up all of our space inventory and have all of this additional space, then we lose points to compete for Prop 51 because we want to be smart about it. We've got $500 million, but if we can get more money, why not, right? So we want to be smart about positioning ourselves. So we're in some planning, and I'm looking at Rich here, to see if we can have part of the Randolph campus released for classes at BC, and Liz Roselle and the industrial technology team are taking the lead in planning. Oh, all right, give it up for industrial automation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the nature boy, Ric Flair.
I met our new faculty in HVAC, and it's like, the whole strong workforce faculty have been hired, like, there's this definite presence, Cindy, it's going to be really great. So the Delano folks, when you get questions from the community, we've got to do a regroup and now think about, with the Randolph campus, how would we change our facilities master plan? We had 3 buildings coming up at the Timmins campus, but now how do we really figure it out? So that piece of work is going to be happening, and we're increasing, dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment. So I really want to shift our framing. I don't want us to just think about dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is when high school teachers teach a class that counts in a dual way for high school and college. What I want to think about, how do we serve high school students? That's the shift in mindset. So it's either dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment. So we're looking at that time period between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. to see if we can start having our BC faculty teaching BC classes on the campus. So it's not a high school, so I'm not sure. Anyway, I won't get into details because I got to wrap up, So that's kind of the plan for Delano, and we're really increasing our footprint in Shafter, Wasco, and McFarland. And in South Kern with Arvin and Lamont, I'm very optimistic that the land deal will come through. There's a meeting that's happening next week, in fact, that we're hammering out the disposition agreement when that parcel can be handed over by the city of Arvin. It's about 33 acres. It's a lot of land. Over to Bakersfield College and the Kern Community College District. In the meantime, though, Abel has been extremely busy with, is Jesse here? Is Jesse here? He's in the overflow room. Hey, Jesse. Okay. So Jesse is one of our new counselors. So what we're doing in Arvin is, besides the expansion we had, we are trying out an early college for the first time in Arvin. I know. It's not like a Centennial or a Foothill. It's happening in Arvin, and it's the 108 GATE students. So we're taking those 108 GATE students, and we are looking at them in, dream UCs, dream CSU, dream about, a master's degree. And we're going to try to see if we can bring them for the Distinguished Speaker Series that you're having, Desi. We're planning on transportation to bring those kids out here so they can see college and they can dream about college, and it then becomes a reality. So lots of plans for rural Kern. It still continues to be a priority. And so faculty, if any of you are interested in writing and being that scribe and that storyteller, please ping one of us and let us know. So, at this point, I want to move into our strategic directions, and because our strategic directions is our map for the work of the college. So talking about strategic directions, how many strategic directions do we have? 5. Who said that? You know the answer to that, Grace. But anyway, you get our Dean of Counseling and Student Success. Oh, I just misaimed there. So we have 5 strategic directions. Can you name them? Number 1? Student learning. That's at the heart of what we do. That's why students come to Bakersfield College, to develop their curiosity, to become, we've got that up there. Communicate effectively. I'm trying to get the ILOs here, so help me out. Institutional learning outcomes. Communicate effectively, think critically, demonstrate competencies, and engage with your community. Those are our 4 institutional learning outcomes. And the reason I'm doing this quiz is because we have the accreditation evaluators who are going to be here in October of 2018. So we've got to kind of, bring up our collective understanding of some of these institutional framing pieces. So student learning, what's our second strategic direction? Student progression and completion. This is, how many students actually get their 15 credits, the 30 credits, and their 60 credits. Third, facilities. There's leadership and engagement as well, facilities. And then what's the last one? accountability, oversight and accountability. I think this Grace Camisa gets the A+ here. So, so if you look at our strategic directions, I want to point out something under facilities. Look at it, a commitment to improve the maintenance of and secure funding. Talk about securing funding. Did we secure funding for our facilities? So our strategic directions do guide our work for those of our new faculty, staff, and administrators. Do keep in touch with, again, our institutional framing pieces as you're thinking about your work in the context of our directions and our core values. So in the next maybe 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about our work using each strategic direction to sort of frame my remarks. And our strategic directions are up for renewal because it's a 3-year plan, and Todd Costin is going to be our institutional lead under the oversight of College Council, putting a team together to get that done. So let's start with student learning. And this is for all of us, and I see Jerry Luedeke in the audience here in the archives. I mean, you contribute to student learning incredibly, even our Levin Center and all of the speakers that we bring in. But okay, focus. So back to student learning. To our new faculty, our faculty at BC provide an incredible learning environment for our students. So when we talk about, guided pathways, we have the pillars here, and I'm going to do a little bit of a primer on guided pathways. What I want to tell you in the context of learning is that faculty take the time to really meet each student where they are. I remember the day I walked into Barnes & Nobles and found Ann Tatum there, working with a student, or the weekends I see Janet Targent doing makeup tests, and I see all of you on campus. Joe Saldivar taking his pre-med students out on field trips in terms of co-curricular activities that really make students get connected. And oh my gosh, Coach Paula Dahl, I met her at the football event, and there was Coach Dahl supporting our students, student athletes. And I asked her, how are your students, your incoming students? She said, this is the best group ever. And every year when I talk to Coach Paula Dahl, she's so enthusiastic. This is the best group ever. And new faculty, this is what you see in each and every one of our faculty. And again, with a superhero theme, because Manny has put some videos together for us with a superhero theme, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man. Look to your left and look to your right. You may see Peter Parker sitting by your side, but don't believe that. Okay, it's not Peter Parker, it's actually Spider-Man, right? And when you look to your left, you see Diana Prince. I love that movie, Wonder Woman, it was great. And it's not Diana Prince, it's Wonder Woman or Bruce Wayne, right? So that is truly, faculty are truly at the heart of the student learning, working to create students like Desi, who steps out there. Our direction says it's a commitment to empower the learner. Did you see that empowerment right there? Stepping out, taking on issues, that kind of empowerment. So it's not only developing curiosity and inquiry, but it's also, BC has a sense of getting our students not only to have those skills and abilities, but it is a catalyst to move our students and all of us to action, to make something impossible possible. Jennifer Garrett, I don't know where you are. She doesn't only take students to Rome. The other day I'm checking out Facebook, and there she is, because one of her students, I think Zach Carey is his name, his grandmother wasn't able to come and watch her granddaughter perform. So they just mention it, and you know what Dr. Garrett says? All right, we're going to go to the grandmother. So they go to the grandmother, and I don't know if she was in a convalescent home or where it is, and there they are performing, okay? And so to you, faculty, I tell you this. The rest of us, you have your student affairs colleagues, you have your counselors, right? The counselors are meeting tomorrow and Friday, and I'm going to go say hello to them. Grace said, you have a minute. I said, oh, please, may I have two, Because our counselors are going to be right there with you. They're going to be in your meta-major communities. And they're going to be telling you about the students. And if you need them to do something for you, like contact a student and you see something, they're right there with you, right? You have your financial aid folks, and Maria Wright is now, and Eileen Pierce, and have put together our tutoring and our support services for you so that you can now, like a coach, when you think of a coach, you think of a friend, someone who's going to be there for you and really make you perform. But it's tough love, right? It's tough love. They're going to make you exceed what you think is possible. So the whole concept of the completion coaches, we have adopted the language of coaches to symbolize and signal our students, we're going to be in your business. Get used to it. So again, I'm meandering, but coming back to the student learning strategic direction, we do it here at Bakersfield College. We do it. And the institutional work, what I want to signal to you, whether it's guided pathways or student learning, I don't want to signal to you that this is something new. This is something that is happening, but how can the institution, how can the other administrators and all of our support systems help support the work that you're doing? So when it comes to accreditation and assessment, our assessment committee is going to take on large pieces of work to help support you, faculty, in assessing student learning in the course level, at the program level, and at the institutional level. And that's the work that we need to do. And in 2017-18, we're going to try to see if we can build some systems to help you with that work. Where is Bill Mosley? Are you here? Right over there. So Bill has been telling me that there's a team that is working on systems like Illumin integrated with Canvas, that's our learning management system, to be able to provide information to you faculty so that you can get that information to figure out what you need to do, instead of being bogged down by the bureaucracies that never seem to move. So the work for the institution is for the institution to give you more information for what you already do so that you don't have to be bogged down by those pieces of work. So that's pretty much the student learning piece. Think about co-curricular activities, think about assessment, and we have a specific project that we're getting $200,000 for that is called IEPI. And our Institutional Effectiveness Office is going to be engaged with that piece of work with the assessment committee as well. So that's pretty much student learning, and I'd like to now roll to our strategic direction number 2, which is student progression and completion. Let's see. Well, in student learning, there was a piece of that I wanted to communicate, and I've forgotten. I want to go back to the word being empowered, right? And we have a group of students, the current Promise students, were here on campus. And when Desi spoke to those students, she sent a call to the students saying, if there's something that's not working for you, let us know, because we're going to influence legislation in Sacramento. That's being empowered. And last semester we had an incident, which we talked about at opening day, when there was a young female student who saw a man who was sort of loitering around the women's restroom. And she pinged a faculty member who called public safety, who responded immediately. And we were able to get BPD here, and the man was then arrested. And it turns out, it turns out that he had a history. He had a history of this kind of behavior. But my point is really to focus at Bakersfield College. We have open walls. We don't have a closed campus. So the idea of us being responsible for the safety of our campus resides with each and every one of us. And I know that a slogan we use at Bakersfield College that Chief Counts and the public safety officers have taught us is, what is the slogan? If you see something, say something, and do something. But why should you hear from me when we have Chief right here? Come on up, Chief Counts.
You're absolutely right, President Christian. Those are very strong, powerful words. If you think about what America is going through today in our community colleges and the challenges that we face, those words alone of if you see something, say something, do something, really take it to heart. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Safety on campus, we view it as I was going to say a shared responsibility, but actually it's a partnership. It's a partnership between your Department of Public Safety, students, staff, and faculty. Working together, communication will help keep us safe. One of the things I'd like to ask our faculty side of the family is, when you meet your new classes this coming semester, bring this up to them. Take just a few minutes to express safety on campus. If you see something, say something, do something, and encourage them to do so. I don't want anybody to think, well, do I really need to call this in? Well, I'm telling you, if something causes you to think that, then my answer is yes, call it in. If it turns out to be nothing, that's even wonderful. But we'll respond, and we'll check out every instance that calls in. All I ask is you trust your instincts, and have a great semester this year.
If you see something, Chief, I did see something, and so now I'm saying something. There was vandalism on my Land Rover. Vandalism on my Land Rover. Let's play it. Do you have a video queued up, Aricia? Okay, we don't have the video, but Zal actually got a video of that. Okay.
You're welcome, Steve.
So let's roll to student progression and completion. And this is where the whole guided pathways framework, I wanted to take a few minutes to do a primer, primarily for our new faculty and staff who've joined us. So the guided pathways approach, as I mentioned earlier, is not something new. When you look at Bakersfield College, even from the time I remember way back in 1991-92, when I was a new faculty, and I want to thank the math department, Liz Rizal, Janet, and all of you who got me engaged immediately on campus, and I owe what I've done in my professional life to all of you encouraging me to get engaged. So individuals and departments have always held on to students and provided a safety net in the context of the classes, in the context of the department. But I think where we maybe did not do as fine a job was at the institutional level. So to me, the guided pathways framing is more of an institutional awakening. And it is the institution thinking about how can we bring our systems and our structures to expand and to integrate the good work that has already been happening. So if you think about, oh, is this something new and in addition that I have to do? Absolutely not. Let me reassure you that you're already doing what is important for student success. What I'm asking is now to link arms with your counselor, the financial aid person, and others who can provide more support for each other and creating a net that may have been like this, but now really tightening that net so that there is no way, even if a student wanted to fall through the net, we're not going to let them, because that's what a coach does, right? Coming back to the idea of a coach. So if there is, one of the questions that came up 2 years ago when we started clarifying the path, the question was, do we limit choices? Does it mean now that students can only take this gen ed and not this? And I want to clearly tell you, the answer is no. It does not limit choices. It just makes it clear. Does it mean that if a student is a certain major, they can hop over to another major? They can. In the Guided Pathways College, we have the technology, the high touch and high tech, so that the student can see clearly what it takes to jump from one major to the other. It's not something that's hidden in stacks of files. So it is a way, and so one example is the tool of DegreeWorks. That has made it clear to students what the degree path is, which we didn't have before. So that is the kind of institutional support that we're trying to provide for the student, for faculty, working with their counselors now, for all of us to be coaches, to be able to make sure the students, if they want to change, if they want to switch, they can do that. And Clayton Fowler, who was our SGA president 2 years ago, is a prime example of someone who started with, was it fire technology? And then he moved, oh my gosh, he had Stephen Holmes' class and moved to political science. I chose that example, of course, but so I wanted to re-emphasize and make it clear to our newcomers that clarifying the path is exactly what it means. It means clarify and make it clear. It doesn't mean restrict. It doesn't mean there's no flexibility. It's like the Thomas Rhodes Project, right? I cannot take the West Side Parkway if I needed to, but I can also take Truxton. But it's making the paths clear and helping students enter the path. So the work we have done with the high schools and our outreach, and many of you faculty and counselors have been partnering with the outreach department to go out into the high schools. And I would say your best resource are your counselors and your advisors. Okay, go to them because they are right now geared up with data that they have received from the Institutional Research Office for how students are progressing. They have that information for you department chairs. They have that information for you deans and dean faculty. But the other piece of data that is going to be provided to you in the fall semester is whether your students are making use of tutoring and supplemental instruction at the Writing Center, okay? Because once students have entered the path with all of the support, with the summer bridge and the student development class, then what we need to do is we need to help them stay on the path. And we need to do a much better job. The recent statistic that I saw was only 50% of our students enroll in the next semester and continue on the path. So we need to do a much better job, and we've got plans for that this fall. So for staying on the path, you're going to have a different kind of data. So you have your data coaches who are going to be able to provide data from Banner and ODS and Cognos and maybe, okay. And then you have the data coaches that are going to be working with Maria and Eileen and Kim Arbolante and Sonia in tutoring to provide you data of students every week. If you sign up, I don't know the actual system, you are going to get a report that comes to you and you have your roster and you can say, oh yeah, this particular student should have been going for tutoring. In your syllabus, ask them to do their weekly planner and ask them, collect it, even if you don't grade it, collect it and see that in their weekly planner, they've got time put in to do their homework in the tutoring center, in supplemental instruction, in the writing center, and math lab, student success lab, and so on. So that's our big ask today of you. Okay, to do that. So again, you've been doing Guided Pathways. What we're doing is it's an institutional awakening to bring that information to you so that you can be a better coach with your students because you have an insight into what they're doing when they're not in your class. That's what we're kind of putting some of our resources to do. And finally, ensuring learning, and we talked about that. You do that. You do that. Our students who transfer to CSUB or to the UCs consistently perform as well or better than students who started as freshmen at the university. We need an applause for that, don't you think? And the same thing with the workforce. You know, when our students get into the workforce right after a certificate or an associate's degree, they are super qualified, and we get feedback from those who hire our students that they do really well. So we started talking about the idea of meta majors. We have 72 majors at Bakersfield College, and there is a psychology of that is sort of titled the paralysis of choice. And so what the students do is they choose accounting because it starts with an A, right? The paralysis of choice. I mean, just click on CCC, like, woof, you know? So there's so many values to our meta majors, and one of the values is the value of 10 clusters, okay? So right now, all of you, my ask is, see which meta major do you identify with, which meta major are you going to sign up to be a completion coach. And this is not just for our faculty, this is for our staff and our managers as well. I haven't actually signed up for a meta major. I've signed up for an affinity group. There are 8 affinity groups, and one is called the Kern Promise. So when I went to the Kern Promise orientation, and our head coach for Kern Promise is Chanel. I'm not the head coach, but I'm one of the coaches. And so when I introduced myself, I said, good morning, I'm Sonia, the president of EC, but to you, I'm Coach Sonia. All right? Isn't that cool? So, because the minute you say the word coach, you immediately, at least I have this different sense when I go to those games and I see our coaches, just the time and the energy that they put out there. And in fact, I see it even in our arts programs and across. That word coach sort of brings that out. So those are your meta majors. And another concept I want to really get across is before we have many a time identified ourselves as we're transfer faculty. We are CTE faculty. We are basic skills faculty, because those are the 3 parts of our mission. And now we have the baccalaureate added to our mission. I have to say it, if not, Liz Roselle's going to text me and tell me, you forgot baccalaureate again. So, but truly, we're all pathways coaches, because, you know, the CTE and the transfer is a technique we've done to organize our curriculum and a way to be able to talk across the state. I mean, there's strong workforce funding that Cindy is going to talk a little bit about, because we've got huge chunks of money coming down related to strong workforce. But when we take a student-centered approach, when a student comes, they don't see all of those divisions that we have to do to keep the work flowing. What they see are their pathways, and they may shift pathways as they're moving along their educational journey and being inspired by all of you in the classroom and outside the classroom, right? So when you look at the meta major of Ag, Nutrition, and Culinary Arts, do you see transfer there? I do, because we've got transfer programs. We have ADTs there. Do you see CTE there? I do, because we have CTE programs. In fact, I'd emailed Janet and Cindy to help me get this organized. And I said, can you categorize them as transfer and CTE? And then I get a text from Janet saying, I need to talk to you now. And I give her a call, and she said, what are you trying to tell me? Because you can't do that, because, you know, Cindy was saying some CTE are transfer. So the idea here is that as we go forward, we need to be seeing all of the programs we offer as pathways, starting with the end in mind. The end is some kind of a job. It might be a job after a PhD, right? It might be a job after a master's. It might be a job after a baccalaureate. But it is starting with the end in mind and then finding that pathway to get to that end. So Bakersfield College, I give you our 10 meta majors for Bakersfield College. And on the instructional side, I want to tell you this is not locked in stone. Nothing at BC is ever locked in stone, right? Communication, you guys are in 2 meta majors, okay? And I'm like, make up your mind, be in 1 meta major. No, we want to be in 2 meta majors. So what I'm trying to communicate with that is that it's flexible. As we evolve to next year, you might be saying, okay, we need to make these changes as we evolve, but let's start with something for now. So with looking at transfer and CTE, but now just thinking of it as pathways, I want to invite Janet Folks to talk a little bit about transfer, and then after that, Cindy Collier to talk about strong workforce. And as Janet is walking up, we're going to take on transfer in a big way, because some of the data shows that our students who are transferring should be transferring with 60 credits, and they're not. And so if you are a department chair with an associate's degree transfer, please join in this work. It is important work. If you're a faculty member, please join in this work, okay? We're going to have an advisory committee, and we're going to take it on like we do at BC, and we're going to find solutions. So with that, Dr. Janet Folks.
Hi. Janet Folks, Professor of Biology at Bakersfield College, and also going to be co-chairing a committee with Matt Garrett on transfer. And I'm just waiting for my transfer slides to come up here, because there we go. Those of you that know me, I'm always going to show you some numbers. So why is transfer important? We've spent a lot of time talking about basic skills and success, but the truth is, even if we get our students through to an associate's degree, and this is from the Census Bureau, if they're a family, we've barely gotten them to the top of the poverty level. We really have to make a commitment in order to change our students' lives and our community and our nation. We need to get them to that bachelor's degree, and we need to focus on transfer. So next slide. Now, this is some data that's brand new. It's because we have a great Maria Wright that's doing her doctoral work and is looking at the transfer degrees. Nobody else in the state has this data, you guys. It's only BC because Maria sweated over it for more than a year to get this. But this is what I want to tell you. There is a difference in the coursework and the degrees and how it translates into actual success for the students transferring. So in our normal AA and ASs, this is statewide, and the N is 48,000, so this is a big number. Only 46% of those students ever actually transfer. And I get that some of those AAs and ASs are terminal, they end with that degree, but we know if they end with that degree, they're not going to be making a living wage when they've got a family. So we need to be talking to them. But only 46% of them have transferred statewide last year, or 2015-16, sorry. The ones that are transfer ready, these are our students that just pick up the classes they need because they know they want to transfer. Maybe they get a tag, a transfer agreement signed, and they transfer. But the truth is, only 70% of them actually transferred in 2015-16. Now look at the ADT numbers. It's smaller, 24,000, because we've just gotten that program running. But 82% of those students that got ADTs actually transferred last year. And those students, that 24,000, those are primarily, when we looked at the data that Maria got, those are students with low socioeconomic status and students of color. So we have created a thing here that is miraculous. It will help our students transfer. Communicate this difference in the tool that they get. Next slide. Sorry, next thing. So ADTs are our most effective transfer tool. CSUB is our largest partner. And all of you know, and I know as a faculty member, that it's been a tenuous relationship between CSUB and ourselves in many different ways, but it is an incredible opportunity and pathway for our students. 75% of all BC students that transfer to a CSU go to CSUB. They are our relatives. They are the next step. And we are the main provider for CSUs. Last year, 62% of all of the people that went to CSUB as a transfer came from BC. Next one. But we've got issues. And this is why we need this new transfer committee. As we look at guided pathways, we're going to have to restructure our committees, Steve. Senate's going to need to just look at the way that we do our work and see our committees as being the tools to get the work done. But these issues that we have with transfer are really significant. CSUB, Craig Hayward, our interim dean of institutional effectiveness, and I, we met with the VP of academic affairs at CSUB this summer, and we have issues. The ADT legally must be accepted as a package. It's sort of like when you go for your master's degree, you've got a bachelor's degree. They don't rip it to shreds. You've got a bachelor's degree, now you're on a master's program. Well, that's the way an ADT is. It's a package. But we're not getting that benefit for our students at CSUB. We had another issue. CSUB was looking for our students to be validated that they had actually achieved the ADT. So if you think about the complications of what that means, just put your mindset here for a minute. Students that go to a four-year school, they're freshmen for the first year. You have a lot of time to work with them and get together and help them get on their pathway. That is not the case at BC. Their freshman year is actually their first semester. Sophomore year, second semester. Junior year, third semester. They've got to be out here in the fourth semester. That's what the ADT is guaranteeing them. 60 units and they're out of there. So in order to validate our ADTs sooner, we're asking people to apply for graduation in October of their second year. I mean, they haven't even completed half of their work yet. So we're changing that graduation filing date, and we're hoping that we can move forward with a plan to see what classes they need and give them priority registration to get those finished up and get out of here in 2 years. And there are legislated regulations, priority registration, a variety of things that we have to work on, and we are working on. But we need to resolve these issues, and we need to do it right away for our students' benefit. Next slide. So, good transfer news. Go ahead. Over the past 3 years, 68% of Bakersfield College students graduated from CSU campuses within 4 years. But what I want you to look at are these last bars. Do you notice that we have been pushing the number of transfers within the years down or up? In other words, originally only 54%, 3 years ago, only 54% could graduate in 3 years. But now 61% are graduating in 3 years. Our goal is to push all of this down and help CSU Bakersfield. We want to be the model for the state of California. Help our transfer students get through at the highest rate in the state in 2 years. So that's what our goal is. And we're working our way there. You can see those bars going up. The next one. And this is data from the CSU Chancellor's Office, and this is why it's kind of late. 2014, we sent 515 students there. We sent over 700 last year. So we're really doing the job. Next slide. All right, click it. Thank you. So this is a bunch of data, and it's going to be here and available for you to look at because you can't look at the numbers and analyze it very well just seeing it up here. But let me point out a couple of things. Declared major at entry to a CSU, 100%. How did they get there? Well, probably really darn good counseling from our counselors that helped them to transfer, right? But I want you to know, with an average AA degree being conferred at BC after 4.7 years, they swirled around a lot. They needed a lot of direction. So I just got a text message from David Barnett. All of the faculty, when you get your rosters, you need to go into Banner, not your faculty course, but Banner, download your sections, and then print, not the PDF, but the Excel spreadsheet. And right now you're going to see at least 2 columns, possibly after yesterday's work and some suggestions, you might get a third one. But those columns will tell you your student's major and their program of study. Do they want to transfer? Do they want an ADT? Do they want an AA? And we're begging you to get them started that first day that you meet with them and invite them to your office. Spend time with them. Let's help get those students understanding what picking a major is earlier in their career at BC so we can get them out of here with this 100% understanding quicker, not 4.7 years, but 2 years. And then retained after 1 year, 89% of our students that transfer stick it out and are retained that next year to CSU. That means you are doing a damn good job preparing them to be there. So here's the big challenge in my last point. We know they can't get through in 2 years unless they're at 15 units. That's one of Sonia's focus points. They need 15, not 12. If they're only at 12 units, by the end of a year, they're going to be a whole semester behind. We need them to be at 15 units. This has been a complex issue for me to think through, but look at this. Our students that go to a CSU carry full loads of 30 units at the rate of 42%. And actually, if you go down to the next one, which is 24 to 29%, 81% of our students are carrying what is considered a full load at the CSU. Why aren't they here? What can we do to help them carry that full load? It's essential to them transferring and to finishing all their work here. So I know that we're going to do a good job because you can already see those numbers are getting better. And I just want to encourage anybody that's interested in transfer to get on board. We're going to be talking a lot to the CSU faculty. Talk to your students, and let's get them transferred and out of here and complete this education at BC. Thanks.
So I see Cindy Collier walking up. When you think CTE, who do you think of? Cindy Collier!
I think Otto. Just because they've been so loud today. I am so excited to see all of you guys here today, and I'm so excited to hear Sonia say we are looking at helping our students start thinking about jobs. So what we do in education, it really is to get everybody a job, right? Regardless of what type of degree we want, we all want to have a job so we can support our families. So when we're thinking about education, it's not just transfer, it's not just CTE, it's a job. So maybe I have to go to medical school to get that job, but it's still a job. So what the state of California has done is provided a ton of money, and we call that Strong Workforce. And the goal of Strong Workforce is to do exactly what Janet was talking about, get our students a family-sustaining wage. So what I'm asking faculty to do as you're thinking about your programs is think about where are the high-paying jobs? What kind of education do the students need to get that high-paying job? We don't want them leaving here with a degree that leads to a $12 an hour job. So Strong Workforce is doing that. We have been so blessed because we're going to start an HVAC program. Did you know that you cannot find a qualified technician in HVAC? Did you know that they make about $150,000 a year because you can't find one? So we're starting one, right, Liz? Up in the Randolph campus, because that's where Liz wants to take the whole building over. And we've hired some wonderful faculty. So what Strong Workforce has done is allowed us to think about hiring new faculty, creating new programs, providing equipment. You heard that we spent $1.5 million on new equipment for our college. That's because in part, of Strong Workforce, but in part of coordinating our efforts. Josh Odom has got a beautiful program going in commercial music, and these jobs are out there. They're high-paying jobs. We just got to get them trained. So that's what Strong Workforce is all about. What I want you guys to do when you're thinking about your classes and you're looking at your rosters and you're looking at that major, you're asking yourselves and your students, what job is this leading to? What do you want to do with your life? Because everything says if the student is clear about what their path, if they see what that end is, they're more likely to stick to it. So I want to invite you to go in to our webpage and look at what the Public Health Science degree program has done. On their webpage, they have interviewed employers. And they have employers talking about, and these are our employers here in Kern County, talking about the jobs that are available if they complete this degree program. I invite all of you to think about your own programs and let's do the same thing. And I'm here to help you do that. And my office is here to help you. We have one more exciting change going on. How many of you have student workers? Lots of you, right? Did you realize that you're an employer? If you have student workers, you're an employer. And we have over 500 employees that are student employees on this campus. It's our job as an employer to teach our students the skills they need to leave here and get a job, which is interview, write a resume, develop etiquette, time management, thinking, communication skills. So what we're doing here at BC is I told Sonia I wanted to blow up student employment, so that's what we've done. We've blown it up. And we're now housing it under the Office of Career and Technical Education. And we're tying this together by having our student workers be able to create portfolios through an application process. So when they apply for a job here on campus, they build their portfolio by choosing the classes that they have taken or are taking. Our student learning outcomes are tied to that, and that is brought right into their portfolio. That's their resume. When they complete their degree, they can take that resume to any employer and say, look at what I learned at BC. These are the student learning outcomes I got. We're going to grow it even more by building in more internships, more work experience, so that students can stay engaged in that field of study and see what it really is all about. So if you want a work experience course, come talk to me, and we'll get you some set up, because Josh, you did some work experience courses, right, this summer? Yeah, I'm working on it at Crystal Palace. Yeah, so he's got students working at Crystal Palace. Maybe we can go for a free meal, right? Computer Studies is doing some work experience right now, and it's bringing our industry partners back to our campus and showing them what we can do for those students by providing them the internships and the realness of what it means when they leave us. So that's strong workforce, that's student employment, and welcome back, everybody.